Kakadosh Boker or Bekiim Halacha 6, Siman Kuf Nun Tet. This is 159. We are day 50, page 124, Halacha Lamed. Okay? So it says over here like this. Arba'im se'ah mayim shuvim shebekarka. Yeah? There's going to be a machloka between the Rambam and the Ra'avad. So basically this, the Rambam ruled that if someone poured 40 se'ah of water from containers into a pit or a pool in the ground, no one could do tevilat yadayim in the water, since it's not a kosher mikveh. Okay, because the mikveh has to be collected rainwater that was not carried into a container. The second was in a keli. Kamarnu, water carried in a container is called mayim shuvim, and it's not kosher to fill a mikveh. The Ra'avad, Rabbeinu Avraham ben Dawid, right, he ruled, however, that although that is not kosher to be used as a mikveh, it's kosher to be used for Netilat Yadayim through the immersing the hands. So there's machloket Rambam and Ra'avad. In practice, yeah, so in practice, we must follow the opinion of the Rambam. But if someone has no other water available, no container for Netilat Yadayim, he may immerse his hands in the pool and rely upon the opinion of Rabbeinu Avraham. Yeah, that means basically we go like the Rambam. However, though you don't have any other water, so then again you have the Ravad. He must not say the bracha on Netilat Yadayim in this case. However, if later during the meal a container becomes available, then he should just do the Netilat Yadayim without the bracha. The best course of action, again, is what we always keep on bringing down again and again. You defile the hands, meaning, make your hands all dirty. And then again, you're going to be able to do Netilat Yadayim with a bracha. Okay? So let's see the number 70 and then 71. 70 says like this, right? Look in the footnote 70. The Rambam reasoned, now we have to understand what's the svara of the Rambam and the Ravad. So the Rambam reasoned that since this is an act of immersing, it must be in a body of water that it's able to purify the body. Okay, so therefore, according to the Rambam, it's not a kosher mikveh, so you're not allowed to do Netilat Yadayim. The Rabbeinu Avraham, right, is the Ravad reasoned that since Tumah of the hands is only rabbinical, it's possible to purify through immersing the body in such a way as possible. During the era, again, this is the beginning of the period of the second Bet HaMikdash, a Balkeri was forbidden to study Torah until he immersed in a mikveh. The halacha was that he could immerse in a mikveh filled with water that had been carried in containers, meaning he could immerse in a mikveh of mayim shuvim. Right? That's for a Balkeri. That's why, by the way, a pool, even if a pool is not going to be a kosher mikveh, but it's going to be kosher for a Balkeri. Right, that's what he's saying, and that's why Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Kippur, you could go to a swimming pool. You don't need to go to a mikveh. Okay, so he says this is Rabbeinu Avram's proof that the tum'ah is based upon a rabbinical institution. It's possible to immerse in such a mikveh, and immersing one's hands is no different. So basically, he was saying like this: if right now to immerse your body in for a rabbinical concept, you're allowed to. Right, we're not talking about a nida. Nida is doraita. Nida does not help a swimming pool. But right, if we're talking about a derabbanan, it helps even if it's going to be mayim shuvim, water which is drawn from a utensil. So therefore, he says the hands netilat yadayim is derabbanan. If it's derabbanan, also it's going to help. So therefore, that was the shita of the Ra'avad. So you have a machloke between the Rambam and the Ra'avad. Again, as we already mentioned, Shulchan Aruch basically, or the Kaf HaChaim is saying that we have to be choshesh for Shitat Rambam to be machmir, but b'shat dachak, in extenuating circumstances, you could do like the Ra'avad, but without a beracha. So that was going to be footnote number 70. What about now 71 when we're talking about, okay, fine, let's say you had to do, right, like the Ra'avad, and now all of a sudden you get a keli. Because remember, we were talking about now immersing the hands. Immersing the hands is a different halachot than just some. You could take water from wherever you want and do netilat yadayim as long as the water is clean. So what happens is you take the water, and now you have a kli. So now you could do netilat yadayim normally. But can you make a bracha? So he said you're not allowed to make a bracha. But if you defile the hands, you dirty your hands, that was Ben Ishchai that we mentioned a long time ago, if you remember, right? Then you're allowed to do netilat yadayim with a bracha. So 71 says like this. The Mishnah Berurah demonstrated that the great majority of the Rishonim concurred with the ruling of the Rambam. Okay, so the majority of the Rishonim, they hold like the Rambam, that it has to be a kosher mikveh. Judging from the manner in which the two opinions are presented in the Shulchan Aruch, right, it appears, right, that he says that Maran ruled in practice and according to the Rabbeinu Avraham, the Ravad. He wrote the Rambam's opinion in such and such, but according to the Ravad's opinion is such and such. The general rule is that Maran, right, ruled like the second opinion he cites in the Shulchan Aruch, right, which means like this. If he says yesh omrim v'yesh omrim, meaning some people say like this and some people say like that, so here the Shulchan Aruch it sees that he really be'emet he paskin like the Ravad, because he says the Rambam ula Rambam, this is the Rambam's opinion, and the Ravad, this is his opinion. When you have yesh v'yesh, halachak yesh batra, so he goes like the Ravad. It is possible, however, though, that this rule does not apply in the case where Maran mentions the two opinions instead of simply just writing Yesh Omrim v'Yesh Omrim. This is especially likely since Maran cited the Rambam by name in this case, and some Acharonim stated that the rule is that Maran always follows the Rambam's opinion when he cites him by name, right? Which basically means like this: when Maran says Yesh v'Yesh, yeah, he goes like Yesh Batra, he goes like the second Yesh. But here he didn't say Yesh v'Yesh. He says the Rambam is like this, and the Ravad it's like this. Now we know that whenever Maran he's quoting the Rambam, he holds like the Rambam. So even though he brought down two different opinions, and he brought down the Rambam and the Ravad, but he brought down the Rambam by name. So this is not like the general rule that you go Yesh v'Yesh. That's what he's trying to say. Okay? The Kavachaim Sover, like the Yesh Batra, right? Like the second one, the last one. But over here, we're talking about, right, that since he mentioned the name, we don't go like that, that rule, the general rule. The Kav Chaim Sofer decided that even if someone follows the lenient opinion of the Ravad, he must not say the bracha based upon the Safek Brachol Akel. The Lachabra demonstrated that no other Rishonim agree with the Ravad and ruled, therefore, right, that one may not rely upon his opinion unless one has no container in which to perform Netilat Yadayim in the regular manner. He added that it is best, even after immersing the hands, to wrap your hands in a cloth. So your bare hand fingers are not going to touch the bread, right? As explained above in the footnotes, to Halakha 13 and 26, if while one is eating, as the opportunity comes up to do Netilat Yadayim, again, defile the hands, and then again, you're going to be able to do Netilat Yadayim with a beracha. Ma. Halakha number Lamed Aleph, 31. Pouring water indirectly into the pool. If someone filled a mikveh pool with maim shuvim, water that has been carried in containers, but instead of pouring the water directly into the pool, he poured the water onto the ground and he allowed it to run by itself in the pool. Even the Rambam agreed that the mikveh is kosher for someone to immerse his hands into it. Right? The Talmudic term for this process is called hamshacha. He must pour at least 40 se'ah of water into the mikveh. This water must be standing. If it continues to flow, it's not considered a mikveh at all. The definition of a mikveh is a pool of standing collected rainwater. Okay, so again, if it wasn't that he used the keli and he did that it was on the outside and then it continued going inside, it's going to be kosher even according to the Rambam. Halakha 32, it is not possible to cup one hand into a river and pick up the water and pour it on the other hand for the purpose of Netilat Yadayim. Anyone who attempts this fails to purify his hands altogether, since he has neither immersed his hands nor has used the container. So somebody said, Rabbi, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my hands in the river, pick it up, and pour it on the other hand. You didn't do nothing. Why? You didn't do Tevilat Yadayim, and you have a kli. Your hand is on a keli. So therefore, by doing that, you completely, right, you miss both. You miss the keli and you miss the Tevilat Yadayim. Halakha Lamed Gimel 33. If someone pours water on one hand from a container and then immerses his second hand, in the mikveh or mayan, he also did Netilat Yadayim. So this is interesting. He did 1-1. So one hand he did Tevilat Yadayim and one hand he did Netilat Yadayim. It's still okay. 34. Yeah, when immersing one's hands in a mikveh or a mayan, it is not necessary to immerse them more than once. So Baruch Hashem, somebody just asked me this question yesterday and I told him this answer. After immersing them, it's not necessary to hold the fingers upward either, right? As it was necessary according to the regular Netilat Yadayim, if you remember. He says, according to the Kabbalists, it is necessary to immerse the hands 3 times, and then to rub each one again, and finally to raise the fingers as well. In that position, one recites the Beracha of Netilat Yadayim. After reciting the blessing, one may lower the hands, but one must try them before saying the Beracha of Hamosi. So again, you have the Halacha, and then you have the Kabbalah. Al Pi Kabbalah, you still always need 3 times. So you need 3 times Tevilat Yadayim. You need the 3 times Shifshush Yadayim. You have to pick up your hands as usual. Because like every other Netilat Yadayim. But according to the Halacha, once Vesasufi. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. Okay, let's see number 72. 72 says drying the hands. Because remember, usually we always have to dry the hands, right? But that's in regular Netilat Yadayim. Here you have to dry the hands. So above in Siman 159.31, it was explained that according to Maran in the Shulchan Aruch, it is not necessary to dry the hands at all if one immerses them in a mikveh or, right, if one poured a revit of the water on each hand. A number of Achronim ruled that after pouring a revit of water on each hand, one must dry them, but they agreed that if one immersed the hands in a mikveh or mayan, it's not necessary. The Levush, however, ruled that in every case, even after doing the Tevilat Yadayim, you're also obligated to dry them before eating. It appears, right, disgusting to eat bread with wet hands. The Kav Chaim Sofer also remarked that the common custom is to always dry the hands, even after doing Tevilat Yadayim. The Ben Ish Chai likewise also said the same thing. It appears from his words that it is important, according to the Kabbalah, as well. So okay, so basically that means the halacha of drying the hands applies even after tevilat yadayim. You remember because there was a havamina that you remember that we spoke about. That what happens if I put arvid vatachat? So now I don't have to dry my hands. So the same thing here. I did tevilat yadayim, so I don't have to dry my hands. But you're saying no, it's still better to always dry the hands. What about raising the hands up and immersing them 3 times and rubbing the hands together? So in Siman 158:15, that was Kufnun Chet, where it was explained that according to the halacha, it's necessary to pour the water on each hand twice. Since the water left the hands, it's already is become tameh. And then in Siman 158:23 was explained that one must hold the fingers upwards, right? So that way the water does not come down and mimic tameh. And all this should not apply when immersing the hands in the mikveh or mayan, since no water becomes tameh at all. Therefore, Maran the Shulchan Aruch said that when someone immerses the hands, it's not necessary to raise the fingers upwards. The Ben Ish Chai, however, ruled that even when immersing the hands, it's necessary to immerse 3 times and to rub them together according to the Kabbalah. The Kavachim Sofer likewise wrote that according to the Kabbalah, one must perform the entire procedure of Netilat Yadayim, even when immersing the hands, as is written in the halacha here. So you have a machloket halacha and Kabbalah. Last halacha, lamed hey. One may not pour ocean water on one's hands for Netilat Yadayim, as will be explained below in Siman 160:29. Nevertheless, one may immerse one's hands in the ocean water and fulfill the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim. So we're going to have a difference between the Netilat Yadayim, meaning taking it out, or putting it in. And we're obviously going to speak about the difference. Okay, Bezrat Hashem.